Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm Colette Elizabeth, and I created this channel as a safe space with you in mind. Today, I'm going to talk about how to move past disappointments, specifically when people disappoint us. We all have been disappointed by people, and we have disappointed others. It's hard, it's hurtful, it's painful, especially when it's people who you love, people that you care about, people that you respect. I had a conversation with somebody just today about a disappointing situation that they're dealing with. And I had to recently deal with a disappointing situation. And it's hard. I'm not going to lie to you. It is difficult. It is painful. All right. It's all the things. It really is. And I hesitated making this video because I don't want to come off as making judgments about anyone or making value assessments of anyone. I'm not saying the people that are involved are good people or bad people. That's not for me to judge. What I can say is disappointment, it hurts. It sucks. It takes the sail from beneath our wings sometimes. I just want to talk about a few things that we can do to get over and move past the disappointment. The first thing is just feel the feeling, feel it. Let it just come in and do what you need to do. If you need to cry, if you need to laugh, if you need to do whatever, feel that thing. Suppressing it, I believe, simply makes you feel worse. It can impact your health. It can make your blood pressure go up. I've experienced that before. We know that stress impacts our immune system, which means that we are susceptible to getting illnesses. So I say this, feel the thing. If you got to do an ugly cry, do the ugly cry. Let the ugly cry happen. That's not a weakness. It's a step towards recovery. Because when you're disappointed, sometimes it can feel like an assault on you. Even though the person who disappointed you may not have intended for it to be an assault on you or on your character, it feels like that. It's like a person who accidentally, while driving a car, hits a person on a bike. It wasn't their intent to do that, but the result is the person on the bike was hurt. So the question we have when we have dealt with a disappointing situation that involved maybe people who are close to us, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a relative, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's a spouse, we have to decide, how am I going to move forward? How am I going to continue to get life on? How do I do that? So the first thing is to allow the feelings, feel them. The second thing is to think about what happened in the disappointment where something you expected, maybe a need that you had, was not met. What was that need when the person disappointed you? In other words, perhaps you needed a person to listen to you. You just needed an ear, and the person criticized you. Or perhaps you just needed to be heard, and the person cut you off and did not listen to you. Or perhaps you shared some information with that person and that person told other people. That's disappointing. The other thing you want to do when you are dealing with disappointment is to take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. And there are a number of things that you can do to self-care during this period of time that you are dealing with a disappointment. One of the things you can do is to just write down your feelings. Write them down, word for word. Don't try to edit. Don't try to self-correct. Just write down your feelings as they come out. If you don't want to write them down, maybe you can use a recorder. Speak your feelings. Maybe you might write a poem about your feelings. Maybe you might write and sing a song about your feelings. You don't have to have music. If you want music, do music. You don't want to do music, don't do music. Maybe you want to draw your feelings. Somehow get those feelings out. That's a way that you can care for yourself. Another way is to show yourself some compassion about the situation, and not be so overly self-critical about what occurred. Now, I want to be clear. I am not saying not to take accountability for your actions or words that may have contributed to a situation that caused you to be disappointed. I'll give you an example. Recently, I was in a situation where this person accused me of doing something. She said that I made a statement that demeaned her. Now, the statement that I made, to me, it wasn't demeaning. It was what it was. But that person took it as me not only demeaning her, but trying to demean her in front of others. And the person did not tell me. Now, this is a person that I talk to almost every day. I used to talk to the person. So I was really disappointed that this person chose to tell other people about how my comments offended her. Having said that, when someone came to me and shared with me what this person had told them, I immediately took accountability for what I said. Now, I knew what my motives were, but that didn't matter to me. My thing was the person feels this certain way. And I'm not here saying that I am responsible for this person's feelings, but I did want to clear up that this was not my intent. I am so sorry that my words had such an impact on you. That completely was not my intent, and I apologize. I sent the email because that's how it came to the one person who was telling me. The person gets the email of my apology, and she doubles down. And so at that point, I realized this person has other feelings attached to a statement that I made. So what am I saying with this long story? What I'm saying is, take care of yourself, acknowledge what part you played in disappointing somebody. I have done my part. I have apologized to the person in the way that they communicated it to this other person via email, because that told me that's how the person wants to communicate. So that's the self-care component of this. Don't overly criticizing yourself and gaslighting yourself, and at the same time, take accountability. The other thing you want to do is determine, hey, do I want to talk about this? Now, for me at this point, I'm not sure if I want to discuss the example that I gave. I don't personally feel a need to discuss it at this point. Maybe at a later point. I'm open to have a conversation. I'm open to further discuss what occurred, my perspective, and also listen to what that person is feeling, but I'm not a counselor. If you decide to speak to the person, talk about the situation, speak on it, okay? If you decide to do that, not doing it when you're angry or you feel in a certain kind of way. Make sure that you have resolved your own emotions about the situation. Don't do it upset. Don't do it mad. Don't do it hurt. Do it when you have neutralized your feelings about the situation. And that's not to say that your feelings are going to be non-existent. You're going to have some feelings about it, especially if somebody accuses you of something, like in my situation. You're going to have some feelings about it. And I would be intellectually dishonest if I told you I did not have feelings about it. Anyway, think about if you're going to speak on it. Now, in this one situation that I was talking to somebody about today, the person was disappointed by someone that they know. And I encouraged the person to talk to that person, to tell them how you feel. I said that, and I am going to stick with that. But ultimately, what I explained to the person is their decision to speak to the person about the situation that disappointed them, it's up to them ultimately. And understanding that speaking to this person, that the situation may change the dynamics of their relationship. Understanding that and seeing if that's even worth it. Is it worth changing the dynamics of the relationship when speaking up or out or sharing your feelings? It may cause some changes. And I'm here to tell you, sometimes if discussing your expectations and your feelings is going to change the dynamics of the relationship, to me, that was a relationship that has run its course. That's how I see things now at my age. Okay. For example, going back to the other example that I gave you about the woman who sent the email, for me, that relationship is not a personal relationship, number one, but it is a professional one that I will maintain on a professional level. So in our professional lives, we have people that we deal with on a professional level, and we have people that we deal with on a professional level. And sometimes it gets over into the social level. So when you have situations like what I have dealt with, that person is a professional person, and I will deal with them on a professional level to get things done professionally every time. Not every other time, every time. It's just that there are boundaries to my interactions as it relates to this person going forth. There will be your common courtesies and things like that that you have to have in dealing with people, but that's it. The other thing is looking at your expectations. What are they? Are your expectations unreasonable? And unreasonable to me may be different than unreasonable to you. Like the situation that I talked about earlier, that person's expectations of me are different than my expectations of me as it relates to the situation that she was offended by. So I've been in situations where I expected certain things from people and my expectations were not met. Is that person's responsibility? Maybe. Maybe it depends on what happened, what precipitated the disappointment. Let's say that I expected to go out to dinner with somebody. Maybe I'm dating somebody, or maybe I'm married and I expect my significant other and I to go out to dinner once a week or once a month, whatever the time period is. I expect this, but I don't tell the person that. I expect that person to know what I expect from him. I expect it. That's not fair. That is not fair. And it doesn't even allow the person to meet my expectations or to meet my needs, which I talked about earlier. It doesn't give them any helpful information about what I expect. So in those cases, examining my expectations is important. And I like to move beyond examining my expectations, managing my expectations of others, of how they treat me, of how they respond to me. Now, having said that, if I'm unhappy with how a person is treating me, and if they're not acting in a way that I expect them to act, even after I have conveyed to them, this is what I expect, these are my needs, and those expectations are not met, then the onus is on me to determine how much longer do I want to engage in this relationship with you. Maybe my level of the relationship should be different than where I have it because my expectations are not being met. Or it's possible that I may need to modify my expectations. Okay, it could be any number of things, and none of them are wrong. What's going to help me move past this disappointment that I feel because my needs were not met, my expectations were not met? What's going to help me move past that? So examining your expectations is very important. The other thing is boundaries, and I'm looking down at my paper. Boundaries, setting those boundaries in the beginning if you can. I think every relationship, and I've learned that through therapy, going to therapy, setting those expectations. What are my expectations in every relationship? Do you know there are sometimes I deal with people and it's like, I don't expect anything from them other than we have, because and let me just say this, because some of the interactions that I'm involved with, like many of us every day, they're simply transactional. I do this, you do that. You do this, I do that. That's a transactional relationship. And some relationships, many of them that we have, they're simply transactional relationships. That's all they are, right? But there is an expectation, because if I do this, the expectation is for you to do that. Sometimes those things are clearly laid out, sometimes they're not. So we have to decide where people fit in our lives. How long will they be in our lives? Sometimes people are going to be in your lives for the rest of your life. You don't have a choice. I mean, you do, but you know what I'm saying. You can determine if they're going to play an active role or an inactive role. You can decide if you're going to interact often or you're going to interact less frequently. You can decide that. The other thing I want to talk about is, what's the lesson? Every situation that I have been in that has been disappointing, I really try to just ask God, what is the lesson? What do I learn from this? What have these battle scars? What do they represent? How have I grown? How can I grow? What is that lesson? And not only what lesson have I learned, what can I apply to do the next thing to move forward? And I think of all of what I talked about, for me, I think the most important thing is, what is the lesson? The last thing that I want to talk about is forgiveness. I don't care what people have said to me lately and done. I have put it in my mind and in my heart to forgive them and to move forward. I have put it in my mind and my heart to forgive them and to forgive myself. I said the other thing was most important, but I think this is more important than that, because forgiveness is not saying what the person did or said was right. It's not saying that. What it's saying is, it happened, and I am making a conscious decision to forgive that person for saying that thing or doing that thing. Now, having said that, to forgive the person, that doesn't mean you have to continuously allow yourself to be interacting with them. I don't agree with that at all. If it's something that's hurtful and harmful, and you don't think that that person's behavior is going to change or has changed, you don't see any evidence that it has changed, I will never tell anybody to put themselves in harm's way, physically, mentally, emotionally, in any way. Spiritually, some relationships are best kept at arm's distance. There's this old saying, some folks, you got to love them from a distance. And some people you don't have to deal with at all. And some people you deal with on a professional level. Like I said, the other person only. That's it. And is it as easy as that? No, it's not. It's learned. You have to learn it. And it all relates to, I spoke earlier about boundaries. Those boundaries are made for you to move forward, to grow, to be able to care for yourself, to be able to show yourself self-compassion, self-love. Okay. And I want to say too, that people who disappoint you or disappointed me, that doesn't mean that they're bad people. And that doesn't mean you even think that they are bad people. That's not what you think. People are dealing with stuff. Sometimes people don't know how to deal with what they're dealing with. And I understand that. I have somebody say they want to live their life being humble. Well, being humble doesn't mean you're a doormat. It doesn't mean you're a punching bag for folks. And if people feel that they don't want to respect you for just being you, maybe that's a relationship we want to look at and consider recategorizing. So that's it. I just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about disappointment. When people disappoint us, what do? I say you move on and you move up. You continue working on who you are, protecting your peace, and being the best that you can be. And if all of these things are too much at one time, you break them up. You don't have to do all the things in the one day. And you may go back and forth. You may go out of order. There is no particular order. It's about getting over the disappointment. And again, I'm not minimizing the actions or the words that the person said to you that made you feel disappointed. I'm not saying that. I'm saying thinking about a way, a path forward, forging forward, if that's what you choose to do. You may decide to take some rest in between this disappointment and doing the next thing that you have in your wonderful, brilliant life. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video. Please like this video, share it with somebody who you think may can benefit from it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and to hit the notification bell so that you're notified when I upload new videos. I'll talk to you soon, and you have an amazing day.